I'm Gary C. Johnson. You've seen these billboards and ads that say size matters. I agree. The size that matters is the size of the results the law firm gets for their clients. We have several multi-million-dollar verdicts here in Kentucky. In fact, our firm owns the record for the single largest personal injury verdict in the state of Kentucky. That's the size that matters to you. In Kentucky, give our firm the call.
If you're hurt, injured, don't waste time. Gary Johnson tries for every dime.
Welcome to Simply the Law of Life, a program created by attorney Gary C. Johnson. Simply the Law of Life provides free legal advice and encourages happiness and quality of life. Now, here's Simply the Law of Life with Gary C. Johnson and Keith Casebolt.
Hello, everyone. Welcome into Simply the Law of Life. I'm Keith Casebolt, my dear friend Gary C. Johnson.
Isn't it wonderful to be here?
And
Isn't
Gary,
it wonderful to be alive?
It is, and you and I were just sitting down to the table to do the show, and we were talking about the reason for doing the show. And I told you on the way down, I was listening to an interview. And on that interview, it was about this famous rock star that was in the band Nirvana. And the guy talked about he had got all the number one songs. He had got the record company to pay him millions of dollars. His band was world famous. And he went home and he committed suicide. And when I was listening to this story, it was so sad that I was telling you before the cameras came up, this is the reason you're doing this show. You're trying to touch somebody.
I'm trying to prevent my friends that will care enough to watch this show to keep you from doing something stupid like that. By dealing with your thoughts in your head. That's the purpose of this show. Because the reverence for life is wonderful, my friends. Life is a glorious thing to have. And it is a gift beyond anything that could ever be imagined. Look outside at an old tree and just say to yourself, tree, what would you give just to know you were a tree? Think about that. So yes, the thoughts in your head, though, if they go uncontrolled, and if you don't deal with them by distancing yourself from them, by calling them a name them Keith, whatever, they will take you down that rabbit hole over enough time, and you'll pull out the shotgun, and you'll say, it ain't worth it. I'm ending it right now. This torture that I'm doing to myself is the pain is too great. And it's all self-inflicted. Think about that, all self-inflicted.
You know what got me about that interview? They were talking, wonder what all he would have done. Wonder what he would have accomplished. Wonder what his life would have been like. And those questions will never be answered because he's gone. But I know what the goal that you have for the two of us and everybody else. We want to get to the end and go, whoo, boy, what a trip.
We're going to squeeze. We're going to squeeze every minute of that dash, my friends and I, right? Put the big squeeze on that old dash. We're going to enjoy every second, every single second. And hopefully I will give you some pointers on this program that will make it a little easier for you to deal with your only true enemy you have, which is you.
Yeah.
We are our own worst enemy in all things. Fear, anxiety, stress, depression, all of those things we bring on ourselves through the thoughts and the rumination and the things that's going on in our head. Now, I'm not a psychologist, and I wish I was. I wish I had more training in it, but I've got enough training with practicing law for over 40 years to know most of us need to be able to deal with our thoughts, okay?
And Gary, we've probably got a friend that's watching that says, okay, that's a great opening, guys, but you don't know all the things I'm worried about. You don't know all the things that are stressing me out, and you don't know all the problems that I have. And I think you're probably going to tell our friend, you've seen it with the clients that you've had that's had horrible things happen to them. You've seen bad situations. There's always someone that's got it worse. You're going to try to tell them it's going to be okay.
And in that line, let's talk a little bit about worry. Remember our old friend Dale Carnegie? Let's go to the computer. There's our number in case any of you need to reach us. We're in Lexington. That's our office. GaryCJohnson.com. Dale Carnegie, brilliant man beyond anybody's belief. He was born in 1888. He died in 1955. His book, we've talked about it so many times on this program, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It should have been named How to Be a Better Human Being.
I agree.
Would be a more appropriate name for that book.
Yes.
That's the book. I've given away probably 1,000 of those books, hoping people would read them. Man,
And I
in
got to
that
add
regard.
I got to add to this. You've always said the people that take the book and read it several times didn't need it in the first place. It's the people that take the book and don't read it that really needed it.
If you started that book and you tossed it aside, you desperately need to read it. Those of you that really didn't need it probably read it 2 or 3 times and cherished it beyond anybody's imagination. I'm going to say it again. If you started reading it and you tossed it aside, go find it and read it. You desperately need it.
You know, Gary, what's so fascinating about the book also is I have read the book at least 7 or 8 times. Every time I read it, I have a different marker. So all the colors are different on things that I've marked that I missed the first time that I'll read the next time and go, this is so vitally important, I'm going to underline it.
Back to Dale Carnegie, back to the computer. Some of the things he says in his book, never criticize. Got a chapter on that and why. Never condemn and never complain. I guess you guys have heard me say that a few times on the show over the years, right?
About 22 years.
Try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. How many times have I said to you folks that we're not all the same? We're as different on the inside as we are on the outside. And when someone has a different view than you, that doesn't mean they're wrong. That means they just have a different view than you.
And you know what is so important about this, and seems like maybe it's just today, in the day that we're living, we're not trying to see the other point. We're not even asking what the other point is. We're not taking the time to say, okay, Gary, why do you see it that way and how did you come to that conclusion? Instead, we're jumping up and criticizing that person for seeing it differently than us.
Because it's not what I think, therefore it must be wrong, right?
Absolutely.
Well, not so, folks. We're different. Okay, just back to the computer. Smile. You cannot be ugly if you smile. I'll say that again. You cannot be ugly if you smile.
You can be the reverse.
You can be the first. You can be the most beautiful person in the world and refuse to smile and really be ugly. The only way to win an argument is to avoid it.
Okay.
I'll talk to you about that a little bit.
Yeah, please do, because this one is going to be good for our friends.
What he says in that book is, even if you win the argument, you lose, because the other person is going to be so resentful and mad at you that they're going to get you back. So the only way you can ever win an argument, ever, my friends, is don't do it. Avoid it. Walk away from it. Ignore it. Whatever you have to do, don't get in. No matter how sure you are you're right. You may be 1,000% you're right, and you may be.
Gary,
That has nothing to do with what I'm talking about.
what about our friends that are saying, oh, but I had to set them straight. And after I set them straight, they agreed with me. Doesn't that fall under that little poem you taught me? A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. You did not set them straight. You didn't win. You just made an enemy.
And going along with that, never, ever fight a principled battle. If you say it's the principle of it and I'm going to get in this fight and this battle, you're making a huge mistake. And you're saying, Gary, that doesn't make any sense. Why are you saying that? Well, here's why. You might be wrong. So you fought this principle battle and you win and it turns out you're wrong. How are you going to feel? Don't do it.
We've all done that. We've all thought we were 100% right about something, only to get more information and go, uh-oh.
Yeah, that's right.
I was
It's happened to
wrong.
me. It's happened to me is the reason I'm saying that. You feel like crap when you realize that I fought that great principal battle and boy, I won it. And it turns out you was wrong. Yeah, you start digging.
Yeah, well, I can tell you a quick one.
So
Listen,
that's what I made the rule. Never fight a principal battle.
I was a baseball fan, and I can't tell you how many arguments I got into about Pete Rose not betting on baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what Pete Rose came out and said? He bet on baseball. Here I was defending him because I believed him, and in the end he came out and said, well, yeah, I did it. And all those times that I talked with people and tried to take up for him, I was wrong.
Well, what the heck, you know. Okay, back to the computer. Give honest and sincere appreciation 100 times a day at least.
And you can do it.
And it's there because you got reason to.
And I've watched you do that more than anybody in my life. And I've seen the reaction when you thank people for the job that they're doing, the service that they're rendering, or the fact that they're here and in your life and a part of your life. You do that more than anybody I've ever seen.
I'm going to make a recommendation to you folks. If you can afford it, and you have some little extra money, give a tip to the people in the drive-thru. You will be amazed at the look on their face when they see somebody do that. That somebody's actually grateful that they're there, that is showing them some appreciation. I always do. Every time I go through a drive-thru, I thank them and thank them for being there, and I always give them a tip.
Great point. Great
So
point.
just a little point for you folks. Because guess what? That's how we get most of our food anymore, right?
Isn't that the truth?
And if they weren't there, what kind of shape would we be in? Back to the computer. Be a good listener. Ooh, that is so hard. Oh, my goodness. I want to say something. I don't want to listen.
This one's making me laugh because I was telling Gary about an upcoming meeting that I was going to have, and I said, what's your best advice? And he said, don't talk and listen. You might learn something. And you had just given me that advice before we took the air on the program, and this is correct. You need to listen more than you talk.
If you can make yourself do it. Oh, don't we love to hear the sound of our voice, my friends? It is so hard to listen. Practice it, learn it. People will love to come around you. They just love to come and see you because you're going to listen. Okay? Instead of, I did this, I did that, I did that, I did this. Listen. It's amazing the difference it'll make in your relationship with people.
And Gary, what was the stat in the Dale Carnegie book back in the 30s or 40s when they had the switchboard? They listened in, and the word that was spoke the most often was I.
Absolutely.
And you have challenged me before. You've said, Keith, try to go through a day without using that word I. It's tough to do, isn't it?
It's impossible. You will do it. Try to write a letter without using I. You want a chore, it's amazing how hard it is.
It's almost impossible.
Let's go back to computer, okay? We're talking about our buddy Dale Carnegie. Now, some of the respect others, always, my friends. Free your heart from hatred, because if you don't, your heart will pay a major price for it. You will take years off of your life if you go around harboring hatred.
You will be healthy. You will be healthier. There's no doubt about it.
It's for you, not for them. It's not for anybody else. It's for you. Free your mind from worries. Oh, no, we can't do that, right?
Got to worry. I mean, I can't tell you how many people that watch the program that tell me, oh, it's great advice, but do you know how hard it is? I said, do I know how hard it is? I'm still trying. After all these years, it is the hardest thing in the world to do, not to worry.
And in that light, once we got to that one, I was going to say, my friends, I'm now going to read to you a little bit about what Dale Carnegie says about in his book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. Just a little bit of section on it. I want to read it to you, okay? About worrying. I recently had some correspondence with Dr. Harold C. Habian of the Association of Industrial Physicians and Surgeons, saying that he had made a study of 176 business executives whose average age was 44.3 years. He reported that slightly more than a third of these executives suffered from one of three ailments peculiar to high-tension living: heart disease, digestive tract disorders, ulcers, and high blood pressure. Think of it. A third of our business executives are wrecking their bodies with heart disease, ulcers, and high blood pressure before they even reach 45. What price was their success? And they aren't even buying success. Can any man possibly be a success who is paying for business advancement with stomach ulcers and heart problems? What shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his health? Even if he owned the whole world, he could sleep in only one bed at a time and eat only 3 meals a day. Well, some of us may eat more than that.
I think so.
Even a new employee can do that and probably sleep more soundly and enjoy his food more than a high-powered executive. Frankly, I would rather be a carefree person with no responsibility than wreck my health at 45 by trying to run a railroad or a major company. The best-known cigarette manufacturer in the world dropped dead from heart failure while trying to take a little recreation in the Canadian woods. He had amassed millions and fell dead at 61. He probably traded years of his life for what is called business success. In my estimation, this cigarette executive with all his millions was not half as successful as my father, a Missouri farmer who died at 89 without a dollar. The famous Mayo brothers, who started the Mayo Clinic, declared that more than half of our hospital beds are occupied by people with nervous troubles. Yet when the nerves of these people are studied under a high-powered microscope in a post-mortem examination, their nerves in most cases are apparently as healthy as the nerves of Jack Dempsey or any other athlete. Their nervous troubles are caused not by physical deterioration of the nerves, but by emotions of futility, frustration, anxiety, worry, fear, defeat, and despair. Plato said that the greatest mistake physicians make is that they attempt to cure the body without attempting to cure the mind. Yet the mind and body are one and should not be treated separately. It took medical science 2,300 years to recognize this great truth. We are just now beginning to develop a new kind of medicine called psychosomatic medicine, a medicine that treats both the mind and the body. It is high time we are doing that, for medical science has largely wiped out the terrible diseases caused by physical germs, except for COVID, diseases such as smallpox, cholera, yellow fever, and scores of other scourges that swept untold millions into untimely graves. But medical science has been unable to cope with the mental and physical wrecks caused not by germs, but by the emotions of worry, fear, hate, frustration, and despair. Casualties caused by these emotional diseases are mounting and spreading with catastrophic rapidity, especially in this day and time. Right, folks, huh? 1 out of every 6 of our young men called up by the draft in the Second World War was rejected for psychiatric reasons. What causes insanity? No one knows all the answers, but it is highly probable that in many cases fear and worry are the primary contributing factors. The anxious and harassed individual who is unable to cope with the harsh world of reality breaks off all contact with his environment and retreats into a private dream world of his own making, and this solves all of his worries and problems. I have found my book, a book by Dr. Edward Podolsky entitled Stop Worrying and Get Well. Here are some of the chapter titles in this book. What worry does to the heart, number 1. 2. High blood pressure is fed by worry. 3. Rheumatism can be caused by worry. 4. Worry less for your stomach's sake. 5. How worry can cause even a cold. Worry in your thyroid, and the worrying diabetic.
Now, Gary, let's talk a little bit about this on the chapter. When you read the part about Plato said, we try to treat the illness, but we don't treat the mind. All right, I've picked up on this now. Now I understand what you're doing with your clients. So an individual is in a horrible wreck. They go to the hospital, they fix the broken bones, they do what they can to repair the damage. But when they come to you, the first thing that you talk to the client about is you use the table and you say, here's the lawsuit and here's your part in it, and you're not going to worry or think about anything. You start treating the mind immediately when you talk to a client because that wasn't done in the hospital.
What I do is I say to my clients, this table is your life. This little bit of it right here we're going to give to this lawsuit. And guess what? You're going to leave me in charge of that. Now, why do I do that? Good, decent people are petrified of being in a court system. Any of you that's in a lawsuit right now know what I'm talking about. It is no fun. It is horrible. It is awful. It will drive you crazy if you think about it. I beg my clients and I try to get them to not think about it, to trust me to do my job, which is what I'm being paid to do. Let the people that do it every day, day in and day out, make the decisions in the case and do it. Because, number one, they're not qualified to do their case or they wouldn't need a lawyer. But yet, if I don't give them a speech, they will worry themselves to death over the lawsuit. I've preached to the courts and everybody else, it should be a damage on the jury instruction for the jury to let people have money for the fact they had to file a lawsuit because the insurance company wouldn't pay. It should be a damage.
And Gary, you have told me the clients that take your advice and turn it over to you, they heal better. Their injuries, they start healing better. The ones who can't turn it over and they keep worrying about it, they have a tougher time recovering.
There are studies. Give me a chance to talk about this. I haven't talked about it in a long time. There are studies that show that people in litigation don't heal as fast as people that aren't in litigation. So guess what the defense doctors say? There are studies that show that when they're in litigation, they don't heal, right? Well, did anybody say, wonder why? Is it their words are, well, they want money.
So
That's their excuse.
The defense is sitting there saying they're trying to stay sick or they're trying to stay hurt so that they can get money. And the truth of the matter is, it is the lawsuit that is causing them not to heal.
They worry themselves to death about the lawsuit and what's going to happen and whether or not they're going to get enough money to even get a car or anything. And it's that constant worry and those thoughts and that constant worry in their brains causes them to not heal. But yet, the defense doctors will love to say, look at these studies here. These people that are in litigation, they don't heal as fast as these people that aren't in litigation. No, and that's all because they're wanting to try to get money or something for nothing. It's just a big fat lie.
So here we are, we're talking about trying not to worry. Here comes an individual to you that's been broken, tore all to pieces. They have no income coming in. They're facing bills. They don't know if they're going to heal. And now the defense is coming out and saying they're fake and they're trying to get something for nothing. How could it be any worse? No wonder they're worrying themselves to death.
I was taking a defense doctor's cross-examining him last week, in fact. And he was saying that my client should have gotten better within 8 weeks, which is absurd because they had a herniated disc. But there are studies that show you'll get well in 8 weeks. And so I was questioning him a little bit about that, and he finally says, well, they're in litigation, and there are studies that show that for some reason, it's probably secondary gain. These people just don't get better like they're supposed to. Yeah.
Don't you love it when somebody's telling you, oh, you should be better already, or you should get over this? Yeah.
When he had no more idea what was going on in my client's mind than anybody. And besides, she couldn't have got better. She had a big old herniated disc. She couldn't get better. Even though he went so far as to say the herniated disc, it clearly shows on the MRI, wasn't really a herniated disc. But
So Dale Carnegie is saying, if you can, stop worrying. And that's the whole reason that you tell the individuals, please turn it over to me and try, if you can, to get back with your life.
That's right. It's what we do. Let me see if we got any more. Go back to the computer. I may have some more of that stuff. Live simply. Remember, we were talking about all these executives here that wanted to get rich, and now they ended up with ulcers and high blood pressure and all kinds of diseases.
Yeah, that simplifies it.
Give more.
Which we should, and you mentioned the
at the
drive-through.
drive-thru,
At the drive-through, absolutely.
Expect less. Keep thinking everything's going to come to you, even though you didn't deserve it.
Poor, pitiful me.
And again, the only way to win an argument is to not argue. I put that in there twice so you would understand how important that is.
You know, Gary, wouldn't it be wonderful that we got that email that came to you, Gary at GaryCJohnson.com, that said, I am now worry-free, I am now stress-free, I'm no longer on blood pressure medicine, I'm enjoying my life, and I plan on living to be 120 because of some of the information that was shared on this program.
And I plan on, when they live to be 120, I'm going to be one of their pallbearers.
We plan on still being right here doing the show is what we plan on doing.
But we're going to be happy in the meantime, right, folks? We're going to put the big squeeze on the dash. We're going to have reverence for life. Every second, we're going to make sure we don't buy into the misery that our brain may be telling us we should be. We're going to try our best to be present and not somewhere else, not in the past and not in the future in our mind, but to be where we are right now. Can't you tell that Keith and I are here right now? We're here.
Absolutely.
In the now. And I hope you guys are in the now with us as we do these shows, because it's what it's all about, folks. We are going to have such a good time when we get to be 120, right?
Hey, listen, the other day I was asked, what's the greatest advice? And I said, the reverence for life. What you told me, once you have the reverence for life, you'll have the reverence for everything else around you, your family, your friends,
takes care of itself.
your
It really
job.
does. Yep.
My friend, wonderful information. We're going to do that this week, and we hope to hear from you. Remember, you can contact Gary at GaryCJohnson.com if you got a comment. I think we're going to have a good week, and somebody at the drive-thru is going to get a tip.
I hope.
Because of what you said. Thank you so much for taking this time to tune in. Gary and I greatly appreciate you spending this time with us. And as always, we look forward to seeing you again next week, right here at this same time.
Thank you for watching Simply the Law of Life, a program created by attorney Gary C. Johnson. Until next week, may you be safe, blessed, and happy.
If you're hurt, injured, don't waste time. Gary Johnson cries for every dime.